Thanks for being here. Welcome to the CNU 23 Art Room. We've got an exciting series of sessions occurring. The Art Room has, actually, first of all, has anyone been to an Art Room session before? By show of hands, who's been in one? We've got one over here. Excellent. So the Art Room is an interesting portion of CNU where we're really focusing on skill building, on actually learning by doing and getting into the nuts and bolts of how different portions of the work are done. So each session deals with a different kind of a topic and really gets in and looks at how we actually do the work. So we've got an exciting session this morning about SketchUp and using that to create building types for Urbanism. By show of hands, who has used SketchUp before? Okay, awesome. We have a sophisticated crowd. Okay, so you may know a lot of this already. We'll see. So actually, what I'm going to do is turn it over to Bill. Bill Dennis is going to kind of MC the main portion of the session, and we've got, I think, an exciting session here for you. Thanks. Oh, actually, a little housekeeping. Anybody who needs AIA or AICP credits, there are sign-in sheets at the back table. Thanks.
Good morning, Sketcher upper rights, or whatever. And how many people who use Sketch, I mean, who's never used SketchUp at all? To be honest. Okay, good. And who is like, considers themselves to be a ranked amateur? Well, I do. Okay, just trying to gauge the level of the room. So this is an initiative that I've been trying to get off the ground for a number of years, and finally this year they said, okay, well, you're in charge of it. So I'm not exactly the SketchUp expert. James Doherty would be walking through, what's that?
I may not be an expert either. I don't know.
More than I am. You know, in walking through his process live. And then we have Emily Talon, hopefully if she shows up, talking about GIS and SketchUp. And then Andrew Chrisman and Andrew Petrovsky, who are, you know, if you need something in a computer world, you want a young person. You know? So that's why they're here. So they can tell us how to work the buttons. So this initiative, and oh, here's this thing, is an idea to take these really incredible tools that are available, SketchUp and Google Earth, that are free. Anybody can use them, at least the way that I'm going to show. But it's not curated at all. So that's one of the things I'm going to be talking about. I mean, we could use these tools to create a new urbanist world. So first, my story. And I have a very early involvement with SketchUp. This was version 1.0, I think, when I was a little kid. Oh, there we go. But yeah, I think the book is upside down because that's basically the way I approach life. So I would, you know, if you go to SketchUp for the first time, you kind of end up with this, and everybody goes, well, it's really easy. And you click on things for like 10 minutes, and then you give up, and you know, do that for a year. And finally, I took a half-hour training session, and that's really all I needed. But there are a lot of people who never get past that first point. So what I use it for is a lot of urban design things, especially in China, where, you know, in one night I'll have to draw all these buildings, and it's insane because you're just drawing the squares, pulling them up, and pushing and pulling, and just going crazy. And that works really well as diagrams. That kind of gives you the general idea, you know, better than just a plan. And then even like the worst, crappiest drawings that you can do over that, and this is really bad, but it was like last minute, gives more of a feeling of a place, because we want to use this tool to get down to a street view, eye level view, because that's where people understand and experience spaces. And it can be, you know, abstract, which is good for us again. We get to tell, you know, how high things are, and we can tell a story about a place, you know, in relationship to the world. But it really gets down to the eye level view, and then eventually the detail. Because if you have this kind of a plan, and this is in Ecuador, you know, to a lot of us this might be really interesting, and maybe we can understand this space, but actually most people can't. You know, they go, ooh, that's kind of neat, and I like the green and the colors. You know, so you have to use these models, you know, whether you build them or whether you use them, to give other views that begin to show, you know, with other programs that can do rendering, which they'll be talking about this afternoon more, and to put you into the space. But at a fundamental level, what we want to be able to develop is the idea of building types. Because I think that's going to be really useful in our communication with communities and with each other. And so my proposal, and these are the only words up here, we have a set of ideals, the charter. We have tools, lean urbanism, complete streets, all these things that we've used. But the SketchUp has sort of been, we've all sort of used it here and there. We're all kind of doing our own little thing. So the idea is to curate a library of new urbanist types in the 3D warehouse that is organized by transect, by size, by DUs per acre, by whatever, that are very simple, generally simple models, not the simplest, but roofs, little indication of doors, that everybody can share. And this, so the idea is we establish a working group, SketchUp for the New Urbanism. Last night I set up a Google Groups page, a library on 3D Warehouse, and a Facebook page. So you can start just tossing things in there for now. So we have a curation to determine the taxonomy and determine the level of detail. So anybody in here who's really interested in that project, I welcome your help, and we'll try to figure this out together. Because a lot of us have developed these types, from small things to larger, and we could come up with the numbers for this, even financial numbers, what it takes to build it, the parking requirements, so that we have these as easy tools for everybody to share. And then, as we have this range of building types, from the smallest to the largest, and this is Dan Barolik, who's teaching another class right now, the missing middle. In development, we tend to build a single house and bigger stuff, but none of this middle stuff. So if we can populate this library and make it easy to use, because the warehouse is not easy to use, there's too much just junk, people will begin to use that more, other architects, other planners. And these are just examples of ones that different firms have come up with in terms of their building types. And I think kind of the level of detail that I'm talking about, you can get much more detailed and beautiful, and then you start agglomerating these. You go from kind of a zoning and you're carving out a street in blocks. This is from Anderson Kim. Sort of again, probably the level of model that we're talking about at first, that everybody can grab. And then you can take it and easily have it so you can have more color on it, or run one of the filters through it. But the important thing is to be able to take that and place it on Google Earth base. And that's something that anybody can do. And it's something that I want to kind of push. This is Jeff Dyer's work down in Louisiana. And this level of detail, which is maybe a little high, is really great for explaining things. But there's all these parts that he's developed that could also be there as plug-ons as you're designing. And great diagrams. I thought the one thing, these views really explain things better than this kind of thing. But he still has this. And I thought actually you should just have it as a cartoon with like this woman, telling you what's really important. And then again, here's the pieces. So all these things go together as a group to create main streets, and this is useful as a diagram, kind of gets the idea, but we always want to get down to the eye level view. And so these are just a series of screenshots with the idea that anybody who opens up SketchUp for the first time can't or doesn't want to learn how to do the whole thing, they can do this, which you go down, go to geolocate. This is Amherst. This pops up automatically. You go to select region. You got this. You can adjust it. I want to look at these buildings right down here. You grab it. It puts it on your work page. Then I'm looking for some buildings that maybe exist. And so I find those. load it directly in.
That's usually the stage where there's problems, by the way. When you go to look for buildings that already exist, they're...
Yes, and it's entirely why I want to create a library. That is a place that you know, is the go-to place to find everything that you need. Because in this case, Amherst modeled up all their buildings, but in other cases you may have to use generic buildings that approximate what's there. So that puts it in the right place. Then you say, okay, well, that parking lot there, maybe I would like to add a little pavilion or something, you know, and I want to see what that looks like. So you go to the 3D warehouse, get models. This comes up. I've started this new folder with only a few things in it. SketchUp for the new Urbanism. That's that. Comes up, tells what we're about. A few models here, and you know, there's this nice little pavilion. So you say, well, that could look nice in the parking lot. Grab it from download, and it pops in here, and it's not quite right. I want it over a little bit. So this is the part that takes using one tool, which is up here. That means you can grab something and move it. You know, you don't have to draw, you don't have to do anything. So you hit that, grab it there, move it over, and that's it. So anybody theoretically can place things in their town to see what it's going to look like. And people who are more expert, of course, it's just going to be a resource that you can grab stuff with. But this is the idea. And then, and then one other thing people might need to learn is that guy. You click on it, you click there, and it gives you the street level view. Okay. So these are the things. SketchUp for the New Urbanism is the title I'm using. There's a Google group, there's a Facebook page, and then there's the 3D warehouse. All called the same thing. All called the same thing. Yep. And if you want to email me, bill@bdennis.com, and I'll try to find somebody else to take this over. So, next is James, and he's going to give you a live demo.
You just